Yes, welcome back to the Bray and Ethan podcast for 2026. We are starting off with a bang. We are previewing the 2026 Colts season here in the West for the WAFL Colts season. Ethan Roth is obviously back in the chair. We are remote for this episode because it is going to be tough this year. We are both working full times, both limited to when we can record. So you've ducked out in your lunch break. I'm on a day off. So Ethan, what's this year going to look like? As I say, welcome to you.
Yeah, great to be back, Bray. It's been probably 4 months since we last recorded off the back of some AFLW draft podcasts that we did at the end of 2025. And you're right. Like, we're both working full time. And for those wondering, the podcast isn't going anywhere. I think from what I've tried to explain to people that have asked is it's probably going towards the more of the social media page in terms of still podcasts, of course, but maybe not week by week, just with our own schedule. But having said that, I don't think any content is going to be compromised. It's probably just going to be as much, if not more, but it'll just be done sort of on Instagram, like people might have seen with the preseason Colts content that's been rolling through, and then podcasts in and around that. But from when we first started 7 years ago, there's probably different ways that you can sort of get the same information out, just in sort of more time efficient ways, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. And people are probably also wondering, where's Drizzy? Unfortunately, there's no bad blood between us whatsoever. It's just he's, for reasons in his world at the moment, he can't do as much as what he was doing last year. So we will miss Drizzy, but that he is gone, and hopefully we can. He hasn't disappeared completely. Hopefully we'll see him back with us down the path, because we do enjoy Drizzy's company and expertise that he brings to us. Well, Ethan, we may as well get cracking into what has been a big off-season. A lot of moves in the coaching ranks, and obviously a lot of fresh players coming in, a lot of players got drafted at the end of last year. So a lot has happened through the preseason. We've gone through what would have been 4 rounds of preseason football, but just 3 rounds for each team, pretty much. I guess we'll go back and just have a look at some of those games, Ethan, and anything in particular that standed out. There's a couple of big results through those, 3 rounds of football that we've seen over the last month. Any key surprises in there? Obviously, Claremont showing us that they could potentially go for a 4-peat.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be tough to beat, just looking through the preseason Colts games, and there's been 3 rounds. We're recording the day before a fourth round was supposed to happen, just the one game, but due to weather, that's been cancelled. So it's hard to read too much into preseason. We know it doesn't mean a hell of a lot, let's be honest. But Claremont have obviously been up there. Subiaco had a really good win over West Perth last week. They pumped them, which I was quite surprised to see. And then I guess some of those more developing teams like Peel Thunder, East Perth, they're getting to work. Swan Districts have had a couple of good performances as well, plenty of scoring there. So, I think we'll get into obviously each team, but some standout performances, both from a WA perspective in terms of champs, prepping for the upcoming champs, but also Colts teams.
Yeah, 100%. And also we'll get to it, I guess, a bit later on, but good to see Peel Thunder back in the winning list throughout the preseason as well. They had a big win over Perth back at the beginning of the month. But we'll go club by club, Ethan, through the preseason show. We'll start off, obviously, alphabetical order. We'll start off with Claremont up the top. Obviously, they've completed the 3-peat after finishing 3rd on the ladder last year with a 9-7 record. And they are going to be, they're aiming to be the 3rd team that has ever completed a 4-peat in the WAFL Colts history, with the last 2 being in the 70s and 90s, so a long time ago. And of course, the talent list is just massive down at Claremont. Obviously, a lot of guys who were younger last year, in their younger year last year, and come to their draft year, people like Benji Van Ryan, Elijah Dennis, Elijah Williams, George Gale, Harper Banford, Heath Melody, Robbie Farmer, Jacob Key, Tom Brown, they all step up into their draft year after being in the summer squad as well last year. And of course, the AFL Academy players, Benji Ben Ryan and Heath Melody, of course, leading the way in terms of talent there. And they've got some captains as well. Sam Gallagher and Cooper Edwards will, I guess, co-captain the Tigers this year. And another new change in the coaching ranks as well, Ethan. Mark Cossum joins the coaching ranks there at the Tigers.
Yeah, I mean, not too often you see a Premiership coach go out in a Premiership, but Ricky Smith finishing up at the end of last year, and Mark Cossum steps into the role. So they're scary if they're fully fit. Let's be real. I mean, imagine a midfield with Banfield. His brother just got drafted. Obviously, he's going to be hoping to do the same thing after a Premiership. Heath Melody, Benji Van Rooyen, and Gale. You know, I guess it's that question of, is it as simple as if they qualify, they just win it? Because, you know, they finished third on the ladder last year, which is lower than their previous flag. So is it as simple as they could finish fifth and then get those guys back after the champs? Time will tell. But yeah, you mentioned those guys off the top in the summer squad. I was kind of surprised there was no Noah Braun in the summer squad, to be honest. Like, bottom age of last year, showed some good signs. Obviously, son of a gun, dad's a West Coast Premiership player. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. Claremont, they just keep on doing it. You said those two teams that did it within the 70s and the 90s, that was actually Claremont as well. So no club has done a 4-peat other than them.
Crazy.
And then, yeah, one of the other players, I think, within that summer squad who is still a bottom ager is Jacob Key. I think he could potentially develop into one of the best backs in the comp. There's some huge raps around him, but he still hasn't played a Colts game yet. But, he's been in and around the state programs, and he's a really good size. So, they're stacked across the board. It's hard to make an argument to say why they won't be up there again. I think, and those academy players as well, probably touch on a bit later, some of in the Q&As, but Heath Melody, I saw that Cal Toomey and Riley Beveridge put him on their top 10 in the country for best prospects coming into this year. So I think that sort of says that he's probably the leading WA candidate across the board at the moment.
Yeah, you would definitely be very close to it, and we would agree with them as well. We'll move on to East Freo, who I thought, you think they were slightly disappointing at the back end of last year in that final series, but considering they lost the prelim, technically they did finish in the top 3 for the year after finishing with the home and away record of 12-4. Their last flag was actually the last grand final to be played at Subiaco Oval back in 2017, and their list is arguably almost as strong as Claremont. You've got Ben Wood, who kicked the most goals in last year's competition, Cooper Ramsey, Finlay Yo, who is an excitement machine, James Artemis, who's also been pre-nominated for Tasmania, which, Ethan, I would say is a pretty big deal, considering that a year out from the draft, 2 years out from when Tasmania come in, they're already carrying that key interest.
Yeah, and I mean, there's only 3 WA players who've been, when I say only, it's a very good result, but I mean, it shows that Artemis is in that sort of pick of the bunch to be pre-nominated by Tasmania, and, you know, you can see why. Under 16s MVP, he's pretty much done it all up until this point. It's interesting, his cousin Jackson's over in Tasmania playing in the VFL, having a win in their first game, so there's already maybe even a link there, a tie. I don't know if that's strategic from Jackson's behalf as well. But yeah, some of those other players, Josh Nathan, who has trained with Freo, like Finn Yo over the off-season, Kyle Murad as well, who adds another option up forward, kicked the 4th most goals in the comp last year, Marcus Morton and Noel Hannaford. And then they've got a big leadership group as well. I mean, they've got the biggest captaincy/leadership group in the comp so far. And Sam Mering is probably one of the more experienced coaches in terms of consecutive years.
Yeah, and they've also elected to go with nominating half the team to be captains.
Not as many as last year. They had 7 last year, only the 5 this year, so it's a bit of a downgrade, you could say.
You could say, but it's also a little bit more sensible just going with the 5. But you would expect them to be pretty strong as well if they can have a fully fit group rolling through the 2026 season. Now, East Perth last year, they finished 8th on the ladder with a 5-11 record. Their last flag was back in 2006. And if I'm right, 2006 was the group that, 2 years ago, the guys that got drafted would have been born in 2006, I believe, which is crazy to think it's been that long. But, of course, the summer squad players, Axel Walsh again, Another one who's been pre-nominated for Tasmania, Harrison King, Lachlan McGlade, and Seb Royal. Now, obviously, Garrison King is already, or he's been in the AFL Academy over the summer period. But I want to go back to the Tasmania thing just quickly before we talk more about East Perth, Ethan. Do you know what it looks like for a pre-nominated player? What does that mean for people that don't understand, if you have an understanding of it?
Yeah, so from what I know, it's they have the opportunity to pre-sign 12 players across the country. So 3 being WA is a pretty big deal, considering only 9 other players around the country can do that. So yeah, it means they can. I think it means they can pre-sign them upcoming this year's draft ahead of like 12 months for the next draft, if that makes sense. Have to look into it a bit deeper, but obviously I'm imagining very similar to what Gold Coast and GWS had when they, recruited a couple of WA players early and had early tabs on them. So I think it's important to know, like, they're not signed by Tasmania now. They're not, they're not destined to go to Tasmania. Obviously, there's been a lot of links with Axel Walsh even before this period, but yeah.
Does it potentially mean that they could go play VFL for Tasmania next year?
Yeah, potentially. Like, even with the East Freo one, I mean, and that would hurt East Fremantle. Like, if James Artemis, because he's still a year away from his draft, goes over there. I mean, East Freo, it does impact the WAFL clubs. Like, I know we're talking about East Perth, but on East Freo, like, Grills and Summerall are no longer there. So that could hurt Artemis if he's on state duties, and if he goes to Tasmania next year, just getting ahead of time. But yeah, back to East Perth. Seb Royal and Cooper Ramsey were in the state summer squad last year's top ages. Cooper Ramsey was, and now they're going again, which is pretty rare to see from big men. Garrison Ken, obviously in the AFL Academy, he's an Eagles NGA as well. So exciting times for them. I think we compared him to Adam Sard is probably the biggest comparison I'd have. Left footer of halfback who can run, pretty skillful as well. And then a couple of new appointments as well for captain James Barnard, who's been one of the best in the practice games, and Redmond Dobson's a new coach as well. So I don't know about you, but I guess they've been developing since, they haven't made finals since 2022. So with a new coach, probably expect them to be the same. And is there too of a heavy reliability on Walsh and Ken? I guess time will tell. They're going to be in and out, so it's going to be important for those guys to fill the void.
It will be. That's crazy to think that someone like Axel Walsh has already been talked about for a year or two, still in school, still playing school footy, considering how much he's had.
And he's only played like 1 or 2 games for East Perth as well, so a lot of this hype is coming from PSA and also state champs.
Yeah, and he proved the hype from school footy in the champs last year up on the Gold Coast with a couple of superb efforts out there. Now we'll move on to Peel Thunder. Obviously disappointing last year. We've already mentioned them slightly from the preseason games. Winless last year. However, they did win a flag just a couple of years ago with those grand finals at Leederville that year in 2022. But they've got some pretty handy talent this year. Mitch Sterling, who is touted as their best prospect since Bo Allen. And last year he was 6th in the comp for marks. Last year over some premier key position players, Xavier Little and Bo McOuch.
Yeah, so I've put him there. He actually isn't in the summer squad, but I put him there as being shocked that it wasn't, because he's pretty highly touted, and he was in it last year. So yeah, he's a 198 centimetre player who can play back, forward, ruck. He's got some real athleticism there.
Yep, and their captain, Drew Clark, he's already played 13 Colts games, so he's got some experience under his belt. Stephen Thompson is the new coach that comes into that football club, and probably some of the talking points, or the main one we've already mentioned, is can they finally just get a win this year to up one from last year? And by all signs, it looks like it could be likely, considering they had that's just over a 80-point win down in Mandurah against Perth a couple of weeks ago. So signs looking good for the Thunder.
Yeah, they are. Tassie Faithful looks a genuine forward option as well to complement Mitch Sterling. Kicked 5 in a preseason in round 2, has some state experience under his belt. But yeah, you mentioned Mitch Sterling. He probably is like best draft prospect they've had since Bo Allen. No disrespect to the guys like Will York and company in the 18 squad last year, but he probably just is that cut above. He's 197 centimetres, a really strong forward. And I know just hearing stuff from WA football circles, there's some strong raps on him. So, yeah, surely with a new coach, last year's winless season was just a one-off. You'd have to say so.
Yeah, and with some of those guys going into another year of Colts footy, that'll definitely boost their confidence heading on to the season 2026. We'll move on to Drizzy's Demons. They'll still be known as Drizzy's Demons here. Last year, obviously, just missed out on playing finals footy, finishing 6th with an 8-8 record. Their last flag, like many Perth Football Club themes with premierships, was back in the 90s, 1999, although the Rezzies were able to get over the line a couple of years ago now. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago. But the summer squad players, Cody Lee and Finn Gunston, and the third of the 3 players nominated for for the Tasmanian Devils in a couple of years' time, Ethan.
Yeah, Finn Tomasini, pre-nominated by Tasmania, has some strong leadership credentials. Finn Gunton came into the team last year and was a real forward option as well. So, yeah, Perth, probably not like as stacked as they were in sort of Drizzy's year for top-end talent at the moment. But having said that, Tomasini, as we said, pre-nominated for Tasmania. And at least there's a bit of a Drizzy family tie because Jaden Clark is named as the captain.
Yeah, and Aaron Ballantyne steps into the coaching ranks as well. And I guess the key thing from last year for the Demons was consistency because, they were winning upset games but losing games they should have won. They just need to nail out a good patch of a couple of games and just get those wins on the board and get those wins that you need to be getting.
Yeah, right up into the last round as well. They beat teams. They beat teams above them, but not below them. And I want to throw this one out here. Do they have the best player name in the comp? Jamison Ketchup, who is in the summer squad as well. We forgot to put him in there, but he's in the summer squad. Jamison Ketchup, if I call any Perth Colts games this year, I'm going to have a field day with that. Get the hot sauce out. Ketchup in the forward line is running them up.
Yeah, and you put some mayo on it as well. We'll move on to South Fremantle. This side could be pretty exciting this year. Obviously, they bowed out in the grand final after finishing minor premiers with a record of 12-4. Their last flag was back in 2012, which most of these players would have been probably 2, maybe 3 back in 2012. So that's making us feel old. But their summer squad players, Byron Foster, Cam Maynard, Heath Wilson, and of course Lucas Robinson, who is exciting all of us. But how did he not make it through to the AFL Academy after impressing late last year through that final series? Just wasn't enough to get through.
Yeah, probably just the victim of so many midfielders around the country. But yeah, Fremantle fans, obviously he's an NGA-tied player, so exciting there. He's massive. He's massive, and I've been playing a bit of league footy as well, so I would not be surprised if he gets a debut early on in the league outing, albeit like what we saw with Fred Rodriguez round 1 last year. But yeah, they've got some excitement. Cam Maynard is probably one of the best small forwards in the comp. He was inside the top 10 last year for goals in the bottom 8 year. Heath Wilson's pretty underrated off halfback, probably flies under the radar. And Foster as a ruck was 3rd in the comp for hit-outs and will be pressing his claims for a state 18's berth after playing the last game of the champs last year. But yeah, excitement across the board, and I think hopefully, like for their sake, it could be a case of having to lose one to win one. Jack McAuliffe is the captain along with Chase Vanderhook, who's a bottom major. So bottom major captain is pretty impressive, co-captain. But McAuliffe, he had over 100 tackles last year. Just an absolute tackling machine. So, he's expecting him to lead the way in that sense. And I guess like they'll be up there, I think. But how will Robinson go without no Rodriguez or one to support? Not to say he was relying on them last year, but obviously when you have those two in there supporting you, it allows you to be freed up. So I think Matt Rogers, he's obviously taking them to a grand final, and the aim will be to go one better.
I reckon they'll be. Lucas Robinson should go all right without Toby and Fred. He's going to have the talent step up alongside him. They should be able to push on. Colts programs are used to this. You've got to move on once you star players for previous years get too old or move on to AFL sides. So I think they should be fine. Subiaco, last year, they sort of fell off at times. They were in for a good shot to play finals footy and then ended up just missing out by a couple of games, finishing 7th with an 8-8 record. Their last flag was back in 2020. Just the two summer squad players, Angus Abenizo and Conan Pereira, and their captain leading them this year will be Riley Hay, who played a bit of a defensive mid-role last year, and of course John Mansbridge still holds the reins down there at Tigerland. What are we expecting from the Tigers this year? Is it a bit of a rebuild year, Ethan, or you think they've got the talent there to potentially push for a final spot?
Yeah, the Lions, I get probably a transition period, but I guess you have to say that about all clubs at Colts level. Maybe some concerns of a top age experience, potentially, but Abenizio, very talented cricketer. So, he's up there in a couple of sports. Pereira's done really well in the preseason games, not only the Colts ones, but also the one that Joondalup, where they had that WA Black vs Gold game. He was amongst the standout players. Watch out for Adam Schmetchtig and Sam O'Brien, amongst some others who've been performing well in the preseason. But I guess one for mine, just in terms of a talking point, Thatcher Simmons, I feel like he's been a bit forgotten about. You cast your mind back a year ago, he had 28 disposals last year in round one, obviously playing at Hale as well. And he was in the summer squad last year. So he was in the summer squad as a bottom major in 2025, but didn't make it in the winter squad of 2025 and didn't make it in the summer squad of 2026. So I feel like he's just been a bit forgotten about externally. Whether that's different internally, I don't know. But he did kick 4 goals in the preseason round 2. And I think maybe him not being in the summer squad can let him focus on Subi, and they'll get more midfield minutes into him.
Yeah, it'll be a watch this space come this year to see what the minutes do look like. Move on to Swan Districts. Last year they bowed out in the elimination final after finishing 5th with a record of 9-7. Their last flag was back in 2021 with that star-studded lineup. A lot of guys still playing WAFL League footy and gone on to play AFL footy as well. They've got a decent list of summer squad members from the summer. Jackson Ozan, Callum Smith, brother of Evan Smith from his draft class a couple of years ago, Leo Steed, Taj Allen and Xavier Daniel. They've got on the co-captains as well this year, Jai DeBono and Kai Haraba, and another new coach in the Colts world. Scott Faulkner comes in. He's spent some time at East Perth in recent years, off the top of my head, and also used to do, I think, a lot of work with the, development squads at Swans a while back as well. So I guess he returns to Swans to take on the Colts senior coaching role.
Yeah, he's had a lot of stuff to do with Southwest talent as well in the past. Swans, obviously they lost that elimination final where they finished 5th on the ladder. They couldn't quite do what they did the year before where they went on that massive run. But, yeah, they started that elimination final well. Leon Kickett, obviously. Leon put that first quarter on his shoulder and then, ended up being drafted to Fremantle. So hopefully a couple more drafted for their sake. And potentially the one leading the way is Leo Steed. He's had a really strong start to pre-season. Electric speed, the speed for Steed, I guess, is a good one you could roll with. But, yeah, I think Drizzy had really high ups him last year and probably missed out on a winter squad. But, he's obviously trying to prove the critics wrong. You mentioned one of the co-captains there, Jai Deverno. So I was really, really surprised to see him not make the state summer squad. I think he's probably their most important player. If he plays, Swan Districts week in, week out, he can be thrown anywhere, as shown with that winning goal against Claremont last year at the very, very end. So, I guess the state summer squad's pain could be Swan's gain in that sense. And then I was having a look last night, and Basil Hart is on their Colts list, who was at Peel Thunder last year, and he is a former State 16s MVP winner who was in the state program last year from a Peel perspective. So whether he's gone to Swans for a second chance or what's happening there, I imagine that's no mistake. So, Swans... it's going to be really interesting to see, especially with a new coach. There's a lot of new coaches this year. I'd love to know if we had this many coach changes in the in the Colts. Obviously, a couple going over for different opportunities, as we'll get to, as like with Scott Moore going over to Tassie, for example, and different guys moving on. But yeah, another new coach at Swannies.
I'm just trying to have a look for Basil Hart. Don't think he played a game in the pre-season. Would he still be in school?
Good question. No, is it? I think
every chance he could be boarding
07,
Okay.
Which
say every chance he could have come up and maybe potentially started boarding at Guildford, but if he's past school, that rules that out. Move on to West Perth now, which will be the final team that we preview. Obviously, they went out in the second week of the finals after finishing fourth on the ladder with a 9-7 record. Their last flag was way back in 1990, which I read before, Ethan, and I was shocked that it was 1999 their last flag. I would have thought they would have been able to squeeze one in there at some point in the 2000s, but Campbell Creck, he was part of the summer squad along with Harvey Sporting Guy. Obviously, he kicked the third most Colts goals last season. Kobe LaCroix comes in for a full season of Colts footy as well, obviously with state commitments as well. Maxine Collins and Rafe Williamson were all in the summer squad. Obviously, Kobe LaCroix in the AFL Academy as well. What do we make of this West Perth side, Ethan? And it's a side that has some pretty handy players running around, but they were yet to convert a win or register a win through the pre-season as well, getting pumped by Subiaco and also going down by about a kick to East Perth. What do we make of it?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. They didn't win a game. They didn't win in the preseason, but they dominated the preseason combine. I mean, look at all the tests in the preseason combine, and they had West Perth players left, right, and centre. Banjo Fitch was one of them. Campbell Creek as well, who's a midfielder as a bottom major still in the state program. But yeah, they've got a lot of talent across the board, and yeah, sure, they haven't won since 1990. I guess they lost that grand final heartbreakingly in 2022 against Peel Thunder. When Kane Bevan led them in that year. But, yeah, I think talent across the board. They've obviously lost a couple, Swadling and Farrow, and guys like Cooper Buick have gone up, etc. So, yeah, obviously natural turnover with West Perth. But Steve Chapman's pretty well drilled as a coach. He's one of the more experienced ones there. And a couple of captains, Hunter Buick as a bottom major. So like Chase Vandal for South Fremantle, bottom major co-captain, and Luca Boxart as well, sharing the duties. Couple of talking points for West Perth. I think how consistent can Kobe LaCroix be? I mean, he kicked 15 goals from 10 games last year, which is pretty impressive as a bottom age. He's in the AFL Academy, so I guess expectations are pretty high for a player in the AFL Academy. West Coast tied as well. I think how does their midfield adapt with no Farrell and Swadling through Creek, Buick, etc.? Is a watch this space, and I guess for one that's to watch later in the year, can they have a hat trick of pick 37s at the national draft? So 2024, Cal Duran went pick 37, 2025, Sam Swadling went pick 37, and who knows, could they have a hat trick maybe through a guy like Harvey Sporting guy who, he can be thrown anywhere, and sort of compared him to Jacob Van Rooyen in the preseason, early in the preseason as well. So third most Colts goals last year. He's going to be tough to stop.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see how that pans out for the year, and especially the pick 37s as well. That's another thing that I was surprised to read as well. It's an interesting stat that they have. So I guess we could probably move on to our Instagram Q&As. We got a couple sent through over the past day or so. We'll pick out some, I guess, nice questions that have been sent through. So the first one here that I'll read out to you, Ethan. Levi Waters 03 asks, anything on Lachlan Bidefeld?
Yeah, so he's a exciting small forward. Had a burst of passage last year against Claremont. Kicked a couple of goals in successive minutes, and his sister's actually really talented as well for the West Perth women's program. So, another year for him. Expect him to be in the best team, I think, without a doubt. As a sort of X factor small forward.
Lockie Gewer, he asks, what's Peel Thunder looking like this year? I'm definitely going to say more wins than last year. definitely be handy to pick up a couple of wins. I won't even be surprised if they potentially finish, say, 7th and jumped up a couple of spots. But they should be improving this year, Ethan.
Yeah, they should be. I mean, hopefully it's not just one win. They want to win more than that, but obviously starting with the first win as well.
Yeah, this one's all right. Trell Williams. Prediction for the biggest draft riser. Hard to say at the moment, but could you see fly up the ranks?
I'm not sure if it's a riser, but I think, as I said with Leo Steed, I think he's maybe just creeping into draft calculations at a very early point.
Yeah, I was also thinking him, but I might go something a little bit different. I'm gonna potentially say Mitch Sterling.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say Mitch. Last year they had some touted players down there at the Thunder, but never had their crack on draft night. But I think he might be able to lead them through or out of a tough patch from last year, and hopefully rise up the ladder, and hopefully he can bolster up the draft stocks. An outrageous one here from Kobe.Walton. East Perth flag? Question mark.
I mean, the reserves did it unbelievably when they came from fifth last year and beat a Claremont who had a percentage of upwards of 250%. So stranger things have happened. One from the man Dylan Young, Tobias Young, they like to call him. He's asking how many goals he'll kick himself. Who knows? I think maybe a goal a game or thereabouts. He obviously often does hit the scoreboard. And he's we mentioned Riley Hayes, the captain. He's one of 2 vice captains, is Dylan Young. So, congrats to him for being into the leadership group. Darcy Monty also says if Tobias doesn't make team of the year, then the system is corrupt.
And a lot of the other questions are...
Big Heath Melody. I mean, how many fan pages can you see for guys who haven't made the AFL yet? It's pretty...
There's already one that's been created, has there?
Yeah. Big Heath Melody asked Heath Melody top 10 potential. Well, if you ask Cal Toomey and Riley Beveridge, you'd have to say yes. He's... I don't know if I've seen too many players left and right foot. We said the same about Fred Rodriguez last year, but obviously kicked that goal on the left, running on the left last year, did Heath Melody early in the grand final. But, he's got a bit of backlash for comparing him to Caleb Daniel, which I can see why, but I think just more the foot skills, and can play off half-back. But I think the foot skills are unreal.
Now, I think we'll finish with this one from JS Luke 99. He says, who will win the Jack Clark medal? That's a nice segue into our season predictions. Who are you thinking, Ethan? I've got a couple in my head that I'm ready to wheel off, but you can never be confident with all the games that players can miss out and people step up when they're, I guess, star players are out playing state footy. They come back and they're still polling votes. So what are you thinking for the Jack Clark medal?
Yeah, for mine, and I look at the example of someone like a Toby won last year to give me a bit more confidence with this. But for mine, it's James Artemis. I think he wins medals for a living just about. And I think, more inside midfield time. He'll go out through that sort of, June, July period, obviously with state champs. But I think he'll win the Jack Clark medal. I was tossing up between guys who will probably be more continuity based. But I'll roll with James Artemis for the Jack Clark medal to make it 2 from 2 with after Tom Grills last year.
Nice. I was thinking I'm torn between two Fremantle players, one from each club. Finyo from East Freo is probably just going to miss out from my prediction. I think he's just an excitement machine, attracts the attention of, the umpires who make the votes. If you're doing crazy things like that every game, I think you'll pull some votes. So he's probably I'm going to say he's my smoky, but I'm going to go... I think I predicted a South Fremantle player last year as well, but I'm going to go for Lucas Robinson. I think he's going to lead from the front when he's playing, and he's probably going to at least pick up a vote almost every game that he plays if they're competitive, the Bulldogs, and I think they will be competitive.
Yeah, well, I mean, and I guess if he does play well, he's probably not in a situation like other WAFL clubs where he just gets straight away a league game, even though he might.
Yeah, I don't think he will.
They're so stacked, and you look at like Toby Wine didn't play a league game last year for South Fremantle. Now he's on the Dockers list. Like that just speaks volumes. So yeah, he's a tough man. Tough man to stop is Lucas Robinson. And Finn Yo, I mean, one of the questions that should be is how many hangers is he going to take this year?
Yeah,
like he does it so easily.
Yeah, he's an excitement machine. It's you'd actually probably go. A lot of people don't usually say, "Oh yeah, go pay a ticket to go watch WAFL Colts footy." Not a lot of people would say that, but if you were going to an East Fremantle game and Finlay Yo was lining up, I'm more than happy to pay the price of admission. I reckon we'll go into our prediction for the Wooden Spoon next. Have you got your eyes on a club in particular?
Yeah, I've probably never been more critical of a team up until this point than I was last year. So it might not shock some people, but in terms of how much they'll slide, I think Perth for the Wooden Spoon. I think, I think they've lost a bit of experience and new coach, of course. So it's a bit of an unknown, but I think Perth for the Wooden Spoon. I just struggling to see how many guys can step up from their team. Obviously, they've got those few guys who are in the summer squad, but Perth are mine. Sorry, Drizzy, and anyone else, Perth base.
Nice. I'm sort of torn between the three: Peel Thunder, West Perth, and Perth.
West Perth.
Yeah.
Remember what happened? Remember what happened a couple of years ago that I put them on there, and they fueled for motivation, and obviously made it to a final series.
I know. I personally would have had them around Subiaco, but if Subiaco were going up to Joondalup and pumping them by 80-odd points, I'm not so sure. And obviously they couldn't get the chocolates over East Perth, or I actually probably would have definitely rated them over. So obviously East Perth would have had some guns with obviously PSA footy not being underway just yet. But I don't know. I might have to join Perth with you. I think West Perth will be very handy when they've got their PSA players, so they'll probably get. What was I saying? West Perth will probably get some jockeys throughout the year, and I reckon they might finish seventh. West Perth.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why. Just not seeing it this year. They've got some guns there. They might even have an East Fremantle year like they did the other year when they had that very talented Colts squad. Premiers. I've got mine, and I'm going to be boring.
You're going to say Claremont for a 4-peat?
I think they will get a 4-peat. Genuinely, I don't think they've dropped off. If anything, I think they've gotten slightly stronger. Yes, they're not going to have, say, Cody Curtin down there kicking goals for fun. Yes, they lose the likes of Bailey Banfield, who was sort of in and out anyway. But that squad, I think, it just gets stronger. They've all got another year under their belts, and they've already won a flag. They're going to be walking out with their chest puffed out every week this year, and I think they're probably just as good as last year.
Yeah, I mean, they don't probably have that premier key forward, but at the other end, they've got Tom Brown, Jacob Key, who are two defensive, I guess, bricks down there. And then they've got Robbie Farmer up forward as well, who's an Eagles NGA. So, and then that midfield that we spoke about. So, I mean, it's a boring answer, but I'm gonna say they'll make the grand final, but my premiers are gonna be East Fremantle. I think it's time for them to strike now. They that forward line probably got the best 1-2 combination in terms of Wood and Ormerod, who are both inside the top 5 comfortably for goals kicked. So East Fremantle for the flag for the Colts, and I'm not just saying that because I may or may not have sort of affiliation with their club podcast, but I think because I have made some calls in other grades about them not doing so well, but on this occasion in the Colts, I think they're going to take out their first flag since 2017.
Nice.
Yeah, and I just wanted to throw a question at you before we finish up. It might maybe throw you a bit off guard. Obviously, Jacob Farrow is debuting at the time of recording this weekend for Essendon. So I want to throw one at you, and I've got the list here in case you need a reminder. But who do you think will be, because he was the first 2025 graduate to debut, and we've had some other debutants like Mitch Edwards and Michael Selwood this year, but that wasn't from last draft. Who do you think will be the next player who was drafted last year in 2025 to debut after Jacob Farrow?
I'm gonna have to have a look.
So some names. Obviously, Fred Rodriguez has been injured in the pre-season, so he'll probably take some time and go through the WAFL. And Tyler Williams has been doing well in the WAFL. So some other names to throw at you. And unfortunately, Charlie Banfield had a shoulder injury for St Kilda in a pre-season game as well. So some other options include Cody Curtin, Sam Swadling, Kobe Evans, Toby Wan, Leon Kickett. A couple of those guys. Freo, tough team to break into, but...
Yeah. Actually, no, I think it's going to be Charlie Banfield.
Okay.
I think he looked all right in that pre-season game at Ballarat in those tough conditions down there a couple of weeks ago. I think he looked all right. And he was named emergency last week, I think it was, against the Giants, or maybe the week before. So it seems like he's very close to cracking in. He's probably a clear favourite for my rankings in terms of the guys that got picked up later on.
I think Cody Curtin looks pretty good in the pre-season. Again, Brisbane hard to break into. Took a really good hanger in a training game or a pre-season game that I saw.
Yes, I did see that.
Yeah. Did you see, speaking of Charlie Banfield, did you see the Street X video with Liam Ryan and Charlie Banfield was in it? And it was sort of saying, like, go and watch it on Street X's socials, but it was Liam Ryan, and it was like, obviously he's come from West Coast, and Charlie Banfield was like, oh, West Coast didn't want me, like, sort of thing. It's hard to explain, but it was basically just having a dig at West Coast, not picking him up as a father-son.
Fair enough. All right, well, if this is gonna be our pre-season show, is it gonna be our round one preview show as well, Ethan, or are we gonna do another recording for that?
I mean, we can quickly go through the selections for round one, just to be safe than sorry.
Yeah.
Quick tips, because obviously that starts there. I'm actually on the call for the Peel Thunder East Fremantle season opener next Thursday, so it'll be good in Mandurah. And just on that, games are on YouTube this year as well, so streamer's gone. But yeah, YouTube probably no more accessible place, to be honest.
Yeah, well, streamer's not gone completely; it's just gone for WA footy for now. But looking ahead, Thursday night football for Colts footy to start off the season. We love that Peel Thunder East Fremantle 6:15 bounce down there at Lane Group Stadium. You've got to say the Sharks should get over the line here.
Their season especially this first 3 or 4 week period within that Colts Super round 3 that all the state players will be playing. So I think East Fremantle should probably win pretty comfortably, albeit Mandurah Lane Group Stadium is a tough place to go to. Yeah,
it sure is. And Good Friday, the 2 games on for Colts footy. We've got the City of Vincent Cup, Subiaco and East Perth playing at, which would be the only day game through round 1 for Colts footy. 10:55 bounce down. I think these 2 teams I'm ranking quite closely together, but I'm going to say Subiaco.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, you cast your mind back a year ago and East Perth got up into this game, but Subiaco probably had the better season after that. I'm going to say East Perth in a tight one.
Okay. Nice. Splitting that one. And then we've got a night game. Swan Districts testing out the lights for the first time there at Steel Blue that they got installed last year. Yeah, well, the lights there have been horrible for years. I remember when they used to play what they now call Futures, the 16s Carnival. They played after the league game for like maybe 6 rounds throughout the year. They'd have to come and put those portable light towers that you see at roadwork sites to light up the ground because they were that bad, and they've been like that forever. So finally they get some good lights down there at Steel Blue. Swans and South probably could be a very good matchup along with probably the City of Vincent game, this could be game of the round. I reckon these two games on the Friday will be superb. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, South Fremantle deserves to go in favourites. If the weather's any better than it was last time this Arts It was an absolute slog at the same venue, albeit a morning game. I think South Fremantle for mine. Not like a belting, but maybe 3 or 4 goals.
Yes, I reckon it's going to be tight, and I think South, just. I don't think it's going to be... It's not going to open up. It's going to be a slogfest all evening, that one. And then the only game on Saturday, West Perth and Claremont at 6:30 p.m. at Arena Joondalup. I think Claremont should breeze through this one, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be... I think it might be a bit closer. Obviously, it's the last time they met was in the finals. There'll be players on both sides who will be remember that pretty fondly if you're a Claremont player, given what they went on to do. I'm going to say Claremont, but for mine, this is actually probably game of the round. I think night footy at HIFL the Druids goes pretty well. So I think standalone game, but I'm going to say the Tigers.
Okay, so you're against my opinion of West Perth not being that strong. You think they'll be fine this year?
Yeah, I do. I think they've lost those couple of players that were picked up, but they've got a lot of state representatives, including LaCroix and Sport and Guy, who were as good a forwards as probably in the comp, let alone state, who knows what above as well. So. I'm not by any means saying they're going to go and win the Premiership, but I think they'll be in the finals conversation for sure.
Yeah, agreed. All right, well, that's just about going to do it. So our season predictions are in. I'm definitely going to regret saying that West Perth are going to be a bottom 3 team. Just watch it, but it's what I'm feeling. I'm going to definitely cop it at some point this year once they play finals. Watch it. They'll play finals after I've said that. But, as you said, all Colts games, all WAFL W games, PSA games on YouTube now.
I'm not exactly sure, but I have a feeling, potentially. So there's a couple of channels, WAFL, the official WAFL one, and then WA Sporting Hub is another page. So keep an eye out on that. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people still going to streamer and being confused. But hopefully that only lasts the initial weeks. But and then from our end, let us know if there's any segments you want implemented, whether it be across socials or when we do record podcasts. Obviously, the top 5 was really popular in its first year last year. That'll be, I'm sure a key feature. And then maybe we did matchups that matter towards the back end as well, going into games. So it sort of has that both preview and then stuff that's happened as well. But not going anywhere. We've been obviously a bit slower on the podcast side of things, but as I said off the top, content, Instagram and TikTok and YouTube is the best way to follow what we're up to. Yeah,
we'll be doing our best to pump out. We're going to aim to try and get at least one episode out each week to preview some footy, and obviously we'll still continue to try and get some guests. We might even get some guests to jump on the preview show, get them to jump on the video call at some point. But we're probably going to be in studio a bit less this year, just purely based off availability, but we're hoping to still get in the studio with some guests throughout the year as well.
Yeah, particularly as the draft comes, because you don't want to get people on too early. Not to say you can't get them on again. We've done that a couple of times where we've had them on twice, but it's just a timing thing as well. But it's exciting year ahead.
It sure is. All right, well, that's just about it. You've got to get back to work. Working hard. Stay safe. Well, at the time of recording, stay safe through the weather. I'll probably not be leaving. I'm pretty pumped. We've got our scratch match cancelled as well, so don't have to play in that horrible condition. So can't wait to just have a quiet weekend before the footy wraps up. Well, I should say rams up next weekend over Easter and for the next 20 weeks plus finals as well. So we're looking forward to a massive season of WAFL Colts footy. But until next time, it's bye for now.